The frozen silence. The wind screamed across the frozen land. Snow fell from the gray sky like ash. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. But there, deep in the icy storm, a figure crawled through the snow. It was a woman. Her skin was pale blue, almost like the ice itself. Her eyes were tired, her lips shaking. Wrapped in a torn, thin cloth, she held something close to her chest. It was a child, a baby, barely a few weeks old. The baby made a soft, weak sound. "Just a little more," the mother whispered, her voice cracked and broken. "Just a little further." But there was nowhere to go. Her people had left her here, left her to die. She had begged them, pleaded, for help, but they feared her child. They feared she would bring more trouble to their tribe. So they threw her out into the snow, into the cold, with nothing but her child and a fading hope. Each step was harder than the last. Her feet were numb. Her hands no longer felt the cold. They felt nothing at all. She stumbled, fell, and rose again. The sky grew darker. The storm grew stronger. She found a large rock partly buried in the snow. It gave a small bit of shelter, just enough to block some of the wind. She knelt beside it and slowly sat down, pressing her child tightly against her chest. The baby made a faint cry. She looked at her child's face. So small, so innocent. Her heart ached. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears freezing on her cheeks. I tried to protect you." She took off the last piece of cloth from her own shoulders and wrapped it around the baby. Her arms were bare now. The cold bit deep into her bones. But she didn't care. As long as the baby was warm, just a little longer. The mother curled herself around her child like a shield. Her body trembled, but she stayed still. The snow piled on them slowly. Everything was quiet. Everything was still. She closed her eyes. "Maybe we'll see each other in the stars," she whispered. Her breathing slowed. Darkness came, but then a sound. Crunch. Footsteps in the snow. She didn't hear it. But someone was there. A large figure stood over the small pile of snow, tall, wrapped in a thick coat, his face hidden behind a glass visor glowing faintly in the night. He knelt, brushed the snow off the curled-up shape. He saw her, pale, frozen, barely alive, and the baby, still warm, still breathing. His hand moved. Quickly, he opened a heat blanket, wrapped them both in it, lifted them gently into his arms. The mother's head leaned against his chest. For a second, her eyes opened. She saw a strange face, a helmet, a warm glow. "Who?" she whispered. "Shh," the deep voice replied. "You're safe now." Her eyes closed again. The man looked up at the sky. The storm was getting worse. He had to move fast. He carried them across the snow back toward the hidden cave in the rocks where his ship once crashed. He didn't know who they were. He didn't care. All he saw was a mother trying to keep her baby alive. And that was enough. The warmth of a stranger. The crackle of fire was the first sound she heard. Warmth kissed her frozen skin. Her fingers, stiff and numb, twitched slightly. She was alive. That realization came slowly, like a dream rising from deep sleep. The alien mother opened her eyes. She was inside a cave. The walls were smooth, dark stone, lit by the flickering glow of firelight. Her body was wrapped tightly in thick blankets, soft and warm, unlike anything she had ever touched before. Then her heart jumped. The child. She sat up fast, panic flooding her chest. But there, lying beside her, swaddled in a strange silver cloth, was her baby, breathing, safe, warm. A shaky breath escaped her lips. Relief brought tears again. "You're awake," a voice said from the shadows. She froze. A figure stepped closer to the fire. A tall man with rough hands and a heavy beard. His coat was thick, patched with strange symbols, His eyes, though tired, held no cruelty. He was a human. She blinked. Her kind told stories of humans. Dangerous, violent, impossible to understand. But this one, he had saved her, had carried her, had warmed her child. Why? He knelt near, the fire not too close to scare her. "I found you in the storm," he said, his voice quiet and calm. "You were almost gone." She didn't answer. Her body was still cold, her mind more so. He poured something into a metal cup and gently placed it near her. Steam rose from it. "Drink." "It's warm," he said. She looked at it suspiciously, then at him. He didn't push her. He just returned to his corner and sat in silence. For long minutes, she watched him. His movements were slow, careful, not like a soldier, not like a hunter. More like someone who'd been alone for too long. Finally, she took the cup. The drink was bitter, but it filled her chest with heat. The baby stirred. She held her close and whispered to her softly. "What's your name?" the man asked after a while. She hesitated. Her people never shared names with strangers. "Yelana," she finally said. The man gave a short nod. "Jack." There was another long silence. Then, Yelana's eyes narrowed. "Why? Did you help me?" Jack looked into the fire for a long time before answering. "No one helped me when I crashed here," he said. "I nearly froze too. I guess I didn't want to watch someone else die the same way." Yelana's gaze softened. There was something heavy in his voice. Pain. Loss. "You are alone?" she asked. He gave a small, bitter smile. "You could say that." She looked around. Tools. Old parts. A broken transmitter. He had built this shelter by hand. He had survived here. Alone. Just like her. But he had not turned cold like the others. He still had fire inside him. Enough to save a stranger. Yelana lowered her head. "Thank you for saving my child." Jack nodded once but said nothing. Outside, the wind howled again, but it no longer sounded like death. Not inside this cave. Inside, 2 lives once left to die were alive again, but the storm wasn't over, and something else was coming. Questions in the snow. The days passed slowly inside the cave. Outside, the wind screamed and the snow fell like endless sand from the sky. But inside, the fire kept burning. And for the first time in weeks, Yelana wasn't afraid to fall asleep. Her baby, whom she called Nira, slept better now, wrapped safely in strange warm cloth Jack had given her. Every time Nira smiled in her sleep, Yelana's chest ached with both love and sorrow. She still didn't fully trust the human. But he hadn't hurt them. Not once. In fact, he barely spoke. Jack spent most of his time fixing strange tools or sharpening old metal parts. He had made shelves from scrap wood, hung strange boxes on the walls, and kept a locked drawer near his bed. Everything had a place. Everything was quiet. Yelana watched him. He moved like a soldier, but lived like a ghost. One morning, while Jack was heating food, she finally asked the question that had been burning inside her. "Why are you here?" she said. Jack didn't answer right away. He stirred the pot with a flat tool, his face unreadable. "Ship crash," he said flatly, "months ago." "You were alone?" He nodded. "Why didn't they come for you?" Jack's eyes didn't meet hers. Not everyone gets rescued. The silence after that was heavy. Yelana looked down. "My people left me too. Said my child would bring misfortune. Said I was weak." Jack finally glanced at her. "You carried your baby through a snowstorm. That's not weak." She looked up, surprised. That was the first kind thing he had said. Then she pointed to a round metal box near the fire. "What is that?" "Heat core," he said. "Keeps this place warm. was part of my ship. Yelana leaned closer. You made all this? By yourself? Jack gave a small shrug. What else was I going to do? Lie down and wait to freeze? There was something dark behind those words, something deeper. Yelana looked at his hands. They were full of scars, not from accidents, but from work. Hard, painful survival work. You were a warrior? She asked softly. Engineer, he corrected. But I've seen war. Too much. That explained the pain in his eyes. She didn't ask more. She understood silence. Later that day, Jack taught her how to light the fire if he wasn't around. He showed her where the dried food was kept, how to use the water filter, how to heat the cave if the storm got worse. He even let her hold one of his tools, a round device with blinking lights. She felt trusted. That night she whispered to her sleeping child, maybe this planet doesn't want us dead after all. But outside the snow stopped falling, and something beeped. Jack woke with a start. He sat up and stared at the blinking red light on the wall. What is it? Yelana asked, her voice low. Jack stood and grabbed a small screen. A signal, he said. Her heart raced. A rescue? Jack didn't answer. He stared at the screen, reading something she couldn't understand. Then, slowly, he set it down. It's not human, he said finally. Then what? She whispered. He looked at her, and for the first time she saw true worry in his eyes. Someone's coming, and I don't think they're here to help. The fire between them. Jack didn't sleep that night. He sat near the fire, boots laced tight, staring at the small blinking light on his scanner. The signal had come twice now. Both times short. Both times too clean to be natural. Yelana watched. Him from her blanket, her baby asleep beside her. The fire cast long shadows on the cave walls. For the first time since she met him, Jack looked uneasy. Who is it? She asked softly. He didn't turn his head. I don't know yet. You think it's my people? Jack gave a slow shake of his head. The signal was stronger than anything your people would use out here. This is military. Her stomach dropped. Then they're coming for me. Jack didn't speak. He finally stood up and walked to a small crate near his bed. Yelana had seen it before but never saw what was inside. Jack opened it, and for the first time she saw a part of him she hadn't before. Weapons, guns, blades, armor, a dusty helmet with deep scratches. You're not just an engineer, she said, shocked. Jack took the helmet in his hands. I was military, long ago. Why did you lie? I didn't, he said. I just didn't want to remember. He placed the helmet down and pulled out a small device, sliding it over his wrist. It blinked to life, flashing maps, scanners, and red warning signs. Yelana stepped closer. You plan to fight them? If they come for you, yes. Her voice trembled. You don't even know me. I know enough. That answer left her silent. She stared at this strange human, scarred, tired, living like a ghost, and yet he had chosen to protect her. No one ever stood for me before, she whispered. He looked at her now, straight into her eyes. Then it's about time someone did. The fire crackled louder between them, but so did something else. Trust. Later that day, Jack handed her a small wooden spear he had made. Just in case, he said. Hold it tight. Aim for the neck or the soft spots. She had never held a weapon before. Her people believed in running, not fighting, but now she had something to protect. Her child. Her second chance. Jack started teaching her how to move silently, how to signal without words, how to hide if things went bad. He taught with patience, not power, like someone who had once taught others and lost them. At night, as the fire glowed, she sat beside him. Her baby lay between them, sleeping peacefully. I don't know your world, she said, but your people are different than I imagined. Jack gave a tired laugh. My people would have fought over who got to rescue you first. Some would help, some would hurt. Depends who you meet. She nodded slowly. You're the first human I've ever seen. You feel like both. A danger and a miracle. That made him pause. He didn't reply. Instead, he looked at the baby, then at her, and said something she didn't expect. I lost a daughter once. Yelana blinked, stunned. What happened? War, he said. My enemies took everything. After the crash, I thought maybe I deserved to be alone. Maybe this planet was my punishment. She looked at him, not as a rescuer, but as someone broken just like her. You saved my child, she whispered. You saved me. That isn't punishment, that's purpose. The firelight flickered in his eyes, and for the first time, he smiled. It was small, but real. The signal of danger. The scanner beeped again. This time it didn't stop. Jack's eyes narrowed as he read the screen. The signal wasn't just close, it was landing. A ship, small, fast, and not human. They're here, he said, standing. Up fast. Yelana froze. How many? Can't tell. Small crew, maybe 3 or 4. But if they came for you, they'll be armed. She clutched her baby tighter. They'll take her. They'll kill us both. Not if I stop them first. Jack opened his weapons crate again. He strapped on pieces of armor, each one scratched and worn from old battles. He clipped a long rifle across his back and pulled a short blade from a belt pouch. He didn't look like an engineer anymore. He looked like a soldier. Yelana had never seen such quiet focus. No panic. No fear. Just calm. I've set traps near the cave entrance, Jack said. If they step wrong, they'll lose a leg. He handed Yelana a bundle wrapped in cloth. Food, water, extra blanket. If I tell you to run, you run into the rocks behind the waterfall. There's a second cave, stay hidden there. What if they find me? His voice dropped low. They won't, because I won't let them. Suddenly a loud sound echoed. Across the ice, a ship landing. The ground rumbled beneath their feet. Snow blew into the air in a swirling cloud as landing thrusters fired. Red lights blinked across the sky. Yelana's heart pounded. Her people had come, but not to save her. These were not kind ones. These were enforcers, cold, elite, silent killers sent to erase problems like her. They saw her as trash, as shame, as something to be cleaned up. But Jack, he saw something else. He pressed a small button on his wrist device. The outer traps armed with blinking lights. Spikes rose from the ground. The cave grew quiet. Then, footsteps. 3 figures walked slowly through the snow. Tall. Gray armor. Long plasma rifles across their backs. They're scanning for heat, Jack muttered. Stay down. He grabbed a strange-looking rifle. Something human-made, but clearly modified. Outside, the first enforcer stepped over the ridge. A loud click. Then a burst of energy shot upward. The alien flipped through the air and landed hard. Screams. Chaos. The second enforcer turned sharply, firing his weapon into the snow. Jack didn't wait. He fired from the shadows, one clean shot. The second dropped instantly. Yelana covered her baby's eyes. The cave flashed with red and blue lights. The last enforcer moved fast. Too fast. He threw a grenade toward the cave entrance. Snow exploded. The heat core blinked. Part of the rock cracked. Jack grabbed Yelana by the arm. Move! They ran deeper into the cave tunnels, past the backup supplies, past the old fire pits, toward the narrow crack that led to the hidden waterfall. Yelana was shaking, but she didn't cry. She was tired of crying. They reached the second cave. It was dark and cold, but safe. Jack turned to her. Stay here. No matter what you hear, don't come out. Yelana grabbed his hand. Please don't die. He gave her a look, not of fear, but of quiet strength. I didn't survive this long just to die today. And then he left, back through the tunnels, back into the storm, back into war. The man who wouldn't let go, snow and smoke filled the air. Jack moved like a ghost, silent, fast, focused. His body hurt from the blast, but pain didn't slow him. Not now. Not when someone was still alive out there. Hunting. The last enforcer. Jack's breath puffed in the freezing air as he crouched behind a broken stone. His rifle was low on charge. He had only one explosive left. He peeked out. The armored enforcer was searching, scanning the cave entrance with sharp red eyes. Its voice echoed coldly through a speaker, robotic and cruel. Alien female, surrender now. You and your offspring will be cleansed. Resistance is meaningless. Jack's jaw tightened. I've heard that before, he whispered to himself. Then he moved. He darted across the snow, rolled behind another boulder, and threw his last explosive behind the enemy. Boom! The enforcer stumbled. Jack ran in. Blaster. Aimed. But the alien turned faster than expected. A plasma bolt shot toward him. Jack dodged, but not in time. The heat slammed into his side. He dropped to one knee, groaning. The enforcer marched toward him. Weak human. You protect the broken. You die with them. But Jack wasn't done. With a growl, he reached down, grabbed a metal rod from the snow, and launched it like a spear. It struck the enforcer's mask. The alien staggered, just long enough for Jack to fire his last shot straight into its neck. The enforcer fell, not fast, but heavy, dead. Silence returned. Jack dropped his weapon and fell to the ground, gasping. His side burned. Blood soaked through his coat. Snowflakes melted on his face. He didn't know if he could stand, but he refused to die here. Not yet. In the hidden cave, Yelena held her baby close. Nira had started crying again. Cold, hungry, scared. Yelena pressed her lips to the baby's forehead, whispering soft songs. Then, footsteps. She froze. Jack? She called out. Nothing. Her heart pounded. She grabbed the wooden spear he had given her and stood up, legs shaking. If it wasn't Jack, she would fight anyway. The shadows moved, and then limping, blood on his coat, Jack appeared. She rushed to him. You're hurt, she cried, trying to hold him up. He gave a weak smile. You're safe. That's what matters. She helped him lie down near the small fire pit in the hidden cave. She tore part of her own robe and pressed it to his wound. I told you not to die, she said, her voice trembling. I tried not to, he whispered with a grin. Tears ran down her face. She pressed her forehead to his. Her baby curled beside them both. You saved us, she whispered. Jack looked at her, his voice soft now. You gave me a reason. The cold outside still howled, but inside this cave, wrapped in cloth and warmth and something deeper, they were alive, together. What the cold couldn't kill. The cave was silent now. No more warnings. No more gunshots. No more beeping signals. Only the low crackle of the fire and the sound of slow, steady breathing. Jack lay near the flames, his coat wrapped tight around him. His side was still bleeding, but not as much now. His face was pale, but his eyes stayed open, always watching, always alert. Yelena sat beside him, pressing the cloth to his wound. Her hands were shaking, but not from the cold anymore, from something deeper. Does it still hurt? She asked. Jack gave a weak grin. Not as bad as getting shot the first time. That's not funny. He coughed lightly, then looked at the baby lying beside them, tucked in warm cloth. She's still breathing. That's all I care about. Yelena looked at him carefully. This man, this strange, quiet human, had given everything to protect her and a child that wasn't his. He had no reason to, no promise, no duty. And yet, here he was, bleeding, cold, broken, but still trying to smile. Why did you save us? She asked again, her voice quieter now. Jack stared into the fire. Because I know what it feels like to lose everything, he said. And when I saw you curled around that baby in the snow, I saw something worth saving. She blinked, heart tight in her chest. You didn't even know us. You didn't need to be known. he whispered. You just needed help. That was enough. Silence again. Then Yelana leaned forward and gently touched his forehead with hers, a sign of trust in her culture. Then let me help you now, she said. Days passed. Jack grew weaker, but slowly. The wound needed better tools, real medicine. Yelana did all she could. She kept the fire alive, made broth from dried supplies, held his hand when he shivered. She watched Nira crawl over Jack's chest, giggling softly as if she knew he was her hero, and maybe he was. Every night Yelana sat by the fire listening to the storm, remembering her old life. Her people had cast her out. But this man, this human stranger, had built her a new world, inside a cave of stone and fire. She would not let him die here. One morning, while gathering snow to melt for water, Yelana noticed something strange. The sky was clear. The clouds were gone. The sun, faint and distant, peeked over the snowy mountains, and in the silence she heard it, a soft mechanical hum. She turned sharply. There, just beyond the trees, was a light, faint, blinking, not red like the enemy's ship. Blue, a rescue beacon. She ran back into the cave, breathless. Jack, she said, shaking his arm. There's a signal. Another one. He groaned softly but turned his head. Describe it. Blue light. Faint hum. It's different this time. His eyes widened just slightly. Could be Federation, human patrol, maybe. Will they help you? If they're not privateers, yes. Will they help us? He looked at her and didn't answer. That told her everything. Yelana wrapped the baby close and helped Jack to his feet, his arm over her shoulder, his steps slow. Together they made the walk, through the snow, past the battlefield, where the alien soldiers still lay frozen, toward the blinking blue light. It took them an hour. At last, they reached the wrecked comms, station Jack had built months ago, but now someone had dropped a small rescue pod nearby. Its hatch was open, the beacon blinking on top, and then, voices, human voices. Yelana tensed. A moment later, two men in clean white suits stepped into view. One was older, wearing an officer's badge. He paused when he saw Jack. Commander. Harper? The man asked, shocked. You're alive? Jack gave a half smile. Surprised me too. The other officer looked at Yelana. His expression turned cold. She's not one of ours. No, Jack said. Then why is she here? She saved my life, Jack said simply. And I saved hers. And the baby's. The two officers whispered to each other. The younger one said, Regulations say we don't take unauthorized Xenos aboard without clearance. Jack's voice went cold. Then I won't go either. The men stared at him. Sir, you've been missing for 6 months. Then a few more hours won't kill me. Jack replied. But I'm not leaving her behind. She's under my protection. Silence. Finally, the older officer sighed. Fine. Bring them both. But we'll have to report it. You do that, Jack said. I'll file my own report. Yelana didn't understand the details, but she understood one thing. Jack had chosen her. Again. The ship lifted into the sky, warm air, clean walls, real beds. For the first time, Yelana and Nira slept without fear. Jack was taken to the medbay. He argued about the machines and the nurses, but he stayed, and he healed. Yelana stood by the glass window and watched the stars return. She had once planned to die under those stars. Now, they were her future. Weeks later, Yelana sat in a clean room wearing simple human clothes. Nira played with a floating toy nearby. Jack entered, walking with a cane now, but smiling more. Here you're getting an ID, he said. Yes, she nodded. They're letting me stay, as a refugee. Jack grinned. Good, you'll like Earth. You're going back there? He shrugged. I'm tired of ice and caves. Thought I'd find a warm place this time. She hesitated, then stood. So, will we? She said quietly. Jack raised an eyebrow. We? Nira and me, if you'll have us. He looked at her for a long second, then stepped forward and gently took her hand. You saved me too, Yelana. More than you know. They didn't say anything after that. They didn't need to. Months later. A small house sat on a green hill outside a human city. Wind blew through the trees, birds sang in the morning air. Inside, Jack cooked breakfast, limping slightly as he moved. Yelana sat beside the window, her daughter in her lap. The war was over. The cold was far away, but the fire between them still burned. What had started with silence and snow had become a home, because some things, like love, courage, and second chances, can never be killed by cold. The end.